Hi guys, so first of all, sorry if the lighting is bad. This is the only time I have to film currently, and during the middle of the day the light comes tearing into my bedroom straight into this spot, which is great you would think, but it's not. So I've had to put my blinds down. Yeah, I'm really sorry if the lighting's bad. This video is going to be my October wrap-up and November TBR. I read 11 books in October and I just wanted to talk to you guys about them. The first book I read is The Returned by Jason Mott. There is another book called The Returned, which is based only off of the TV series that was based off of this book. So it's kind of complicated, but this is the original book that inspired the, I think it was Channel 4 series. It was in French, it was brilliant. I gave this book 5 stars purely because I enjoyed it so much. It had nothing to do with the writing style, it was all to do with the plot. I absolutely loved this book. For those of you who don't know, and this obviously is not a spoiler because it's in the title, The Returned is about people who return from the dead. For most of them it's temporary, and they just turn up suddenly and they're not dead anymore. And this is particularly about one town and how they deal with this. A lot of the returned people are imprisoned in this town, and the main characters, it's an elderly couple. Their son died when he was 7 or 8, I think, and he returns to them, and it's about how the family deals with that. Next in October I read Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and again I gave this one 5 stars purely because of the storyline, although it is really well written too. I actually started reading this one in September, but I put it down because it is a little bit slow to get into, and I was determined to read it, so I took it with me when my boyfriend and I went on a weekend away right at the beginning of October. This is a book about the last woman ever to be sentenced to death in Iceland, and it takes place in the 1800s. Yeah, 1829. I loved this book. It had me bawling my eyes out by the end. It was just incredible, and Hannah is so talented. Considering this was her debut novel, it was just brilliant. It was really brilliant. Then I read The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is considered to be a classic, and I can definitely see why. It is a children's book, but I read a couple of children's books this past month. I gave this one 4 stars purely because, well, it sounds really silly, but I felt it was a little childish. It's written for children, but really simplified writing. I don't know, I couldn't give this book 5 stars, but I did really love it. I'm planning on getting the 3 companion novels that continue this series. It's kind of like a dystopian sort of novel. It's about a boy who lives in, obviously, the future, where your career and your partner and your family, everything is decided for you. They basically control your life from birth right up until when you are released, which is an interesting concept in itself. But this particular boy is sent to the Giver for his new job role, and it's just a really interesting book. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I can't wait to get hold of the next 3. Then I had a week off sick in the second week of October, and I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, and Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse, all by Rick Riordan, or Riordan. I read all of these in a day and a half. They are very quick and easy to get through. I did only give them 3 stars though, and I know there will be some of you screaming at me right now. I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief when I was 12. I was part of the book awards for my county in England, and this was the winner, so I had to read it, and I did enjoy it when I was 12. And I started rereading them, and I just realised that they are just not for me, but once I start reading a series I have to finish it. So I'm 3 books in at the moment. The reason I feel they're not for me is because, again, they're very childish, and obviously this is children's literature, so that's to be expected. However, it just really grates on me, some of the language that's used. I hate it when adults try and write how they think teenagers speak, and it's just not right, if you know what I mean. Like, they just get it so wrong. In trying to be cool and trying to be like down with the kids, they are not. So that's kind of how it was for me reading them as a 20-year-old. If I had read them when I was 12, 13, if I had read the whole series then, I probably would have felt very differently now, because I would have formed that emotional attachment to them when I was younger. But yeah, I gave these 3 stars. I feel like they go through the action really quickly and you don't really get any detail. I am going to finish the series, but I don't think I'll be reading Heroes of Olympus. Next, I read another children's book, and that is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I've heard excellent things about Neil Gaiman, but I'd never read anything by him. I've seen a few of the films that have been created from his books. I've seen Coraline, I've seen Stardust, all those sorts of films. And Coraline was reduced to $2.99 on the Book People, so I thought I would pick it up. It's really short. And I thought whilst I was having my week off sick, it would be a nice quick read. Considering it is a children's book, I actually really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. I loved the storyline. I feel like if I had read this as a child, I would have been genuinely scared by the subject matter of this book. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and it's a cute Halloween read. Next, I read probably my favourite book of the month, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book took me a couple of days to read because, again, it's one that's kind of slow. For the first 150 pages, I was thinking, wow, this is really quite difficult to get into. And then it just sort of reached a certain point and I was hooked. Like, it happened all of a sudden I was hooked, and I needed to know what happened to the characters in this book. This book is specifically about one girl, but she has a twin sister. They're called Kath and Ren, and they go off to university, and they go to the same university, but they are both very, very different people, and it's about their changing relationship, how Kath deals with her family back at home and going to university, how she deals with meeting boys, meeting new people, making friends, and I just loved it. I really loved this book. I felt like the main character was very similar to me in that she's very anxious, she's very shy, she doesn't like change, she finds it very difficult to deal with. Her relationship with certain people around her, like her responses are very similar to things that I do. And honestly, I cried about 5 times during this book because I felt so attached to the character that anytime anything happened to her, I was just heartbroken for her. And for that reason, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I'm planning on buying the hardback collector's edition. That is how much I loved it. And yeah, I've already read Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell too, and reading this has reinforced to me that she's probably my new favourite author, and I need to pick up her other 2 books. Next up is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I bought this last Saturday and I read it last Saturday. I absolutely loved this. The only thing that slightly disappointed me was the fact that I 100% saw the plot twist coming. Everyone said you should go into this book without knowing what it was about, so that's exactly what I did. I didn't even read the back before I started reading it, but I feel like the big plot twist was kind of obvious. So that was the only thing that disappointed me about it, but I gave it 4 stars, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really would recommend it. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what it's about if you haven't heard already, because like everyone says, you definitely need to go into it blind. But yeah, it was brilliant. Then we have this lovely hardback copy of The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith. I picked this one up because I don't normally read a lot of contemporary, and this month I wanted to expand my horizons a bit and try and find some contemporary that I did like. This should have been everything that I don't like about contemporary, because I've said it before, I hate young adult love stories where the people fall in love instantly and it's all fluffy and everyone lives happily ever after. I hate that because it's not real life, and it's really nice for characters to get a happy ending, and sometimes I do find a contemporary that I really love, such as Fangirl, but this really should have been everything I hate, but it wasn't. I gave it 4 stars. I read it in about 2 hours. It's really not that long at all. I just thought it was cute, and I think the reason I thought it was cute rather than sickening is because the characters were both actually really likeable. It's about a girl who meets a boy in an airport, and they're both on their way to London to an event. I won't go into details, you kind of need to read the story yourself, but they meet and they have quite like a meaningful time together. They make a sort of connection and they sort of like each other upon first sight. And yeah, it was good. I gave it 4 stars, thought it was cute. Nice quick read. The final book that I read in October was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I read this because I wanted to watch the film, and I don't like to watch the film before I've read the book most of the time, so yeah. Also, it was reduced to £3.85 on Amazon, which is always nice. So I bought it and I started reading it straight away. Obviously, it is supposed to be a psychological thriller. Is it supposed to be a psychological thriller? It's supposed to be a thriller, I know that, and there is a big plot twist that everyone talks about, and again, the same as We Were Liars, I saw it coming from a mile off. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that whilst I was reading this book, I kept up a running commentary on Twitter about how I was feeling about it, and basically I gave it 3 stars. I think that Gillian Flynn is an excellent, excellent author. I have another of her books which I hope to read eventually. I think she's a fantastic writer. Her writing style is amazing. She makes you feel as though you are there experiencing the events with the characters. However, I really didn't like some of the things that happened in this book. I really hated both of the main characters. I don't think I've ever had such extreme dislike for characters, and I guess that shows how much of a brilliant writer she is, because she did trigger really strong emotion in me. I really did hate these characters. Genuinely, I really hated them. But again, I saw the plot twist coming. I didn't like a lot of the things that happened in the book, and for some reason it just really annoyed me. It also took me about 250 pages to even get into the book and feel like I was involved in the story. It's a really slow starter, and it's not until the plot twist that the story kind of gets more interesting. The whole first half of the book I was thinking, when is anything gonna happen? And again, I do think Gillian is an excellent writer. It wasn't anything to do with her writing, it was just the story and the fact that I really didn't like the characters. So there you have it. Those are all the books I read in October. I read a total of 11 books, which for me is pretty good going. I normally average about 5 books a month, and in August I only read 1 book. So 11 books in a month is pretty good, considering I had a lot of uni work to do this month. On top of the fiction that I read every month, I normally read about between 5 and 10 texts for my uni work as well, so I'm definitely proud of myself this month. Now we will get onto my November TBR because it's very short. The first 3 books on my November TBR are books that I have actually already started reading. So we have Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth. This is book 4 in the Percy Jackson series. I am about 90 pages in. Yeah, about 90 pages in. I keep putting it down because I'm just not really enjoying it that much, but I'm going to force myself to the end, and then I'm going to see how I feel about starting the 5th book. Next we have The Fifth Wave, which I started reading last week, but I got distracted by another book that I've already read this month, and I put this one down. I'm only about 40 pages into it, but I actually really like it so far. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I also have The Infinite Sea ready to read, so hopefully I'll get through this one this month. Lastly, we have Amity and Sorrow by Peggy Riley. It doesn't have the dust jacket on at the moment because I'm reading it. I'm about 50 pages in and I'm enjoying it so far. I only started reading it last night, but I'm hoping to get through it quite quickly. The font is quite big, so hopefully it will be relatively quick. I feel like I can get through more than 3 books this month though, considering how well my reading went last month. So as of today, I set myself up a TBR jar. I own about 70 unread books, which is embarrassing. And from now on, I want to pick my TBR from my TBR jar, apart from the 3 that I've already started reading. Oh, okay. This one is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've had that book for a couple of months now and haven't read it yet, so that's exciting. And the next one, The Devil's Consort, which is by Anne O'Brien, and it's a book I actually got for my birthday and still haven't read. So, my TBR this month is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, The Fifth Wave, Amity and Sorrow, The Devil's Consort and The Night Circus. I feel like that is reasonably doable, so yeah, I'm happy with that. Let me know in the comments what you read in October and what you're planning to read in November. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll see you next time. Bye!